The emergency room doctor told us it would take 8 stitches to close the gash on my daughter's hand. I stood in the harsh fluorescent light of cubicle 4, watching Maya flinch as the needle pierced her numbed skin. She didn't cry. She just stared blankly at her ruined dress, the velvet one she had bought specifically to impress her husband's family at their annual Christmas Eve gala. Her husband, Julian, wasn't there. He was still at his family's gated estate, probably sipping vintage champagne while his mother, Victoria, entertained their high society guests. Victoria was the one who had shattered Maya's handmade gift, and Victoria was the one whose stiletto heel had accidentally come down hard on my daughter's fingers when Maya knelt on the marble floor to pick up the broken pieces. I didn't raise my voice when it happened. I didn't cause a scene. If someone gets hurt, you don't stand around arguing with fools. You go to the hospital. So I just wrapped my heavy flannel work shirt around my little girl's bleeding hand, walked her out into the freezing Detroit sleet, and drove straight to the ER. But while Maya was getting stitched up, I stepped out into the sterile hospital hallway. I pulled out my phone. My knuckles were stained with my daughter's blood, and my hands were shaking. Not from grief or panic or fear. They were shaking from a cold, absolute rage that I hadn't let myself feel in over a decade. I dialed a number I hadn't called in 12 years. A man answered on the first ring. "Vance," I said, my voice barely a whisper against the hum of the hospital vending machines. "It's time. Burn their empire to the ground. Tonight." If you're reading this, wondering how a greasy-handed mechanic dismantled a dynasty of untouchable socialites in less than 48 hours, well, sit down. You're going to want to hear every word of this. The drive to the Sterling Manor earlier that evening had taken 40 minutes in the sleet. I drove my beat-up 1988 Ford Bronco, the heater blasting, the cab smelling of motor oil and old leather. Maya sat in the passenger seat, carefully balancing a wooden box on her lap. Inside was a 1920s mechanical music box. She had spent 3 months sourcing the brass gears and restoring it by hand, knowing Victoria Sterling collected antiques. "Do you think she'll actually like it, Dad?" Maya had asked, tracing the inlaid wood. "If she has any sense, she will," I replied, keeping my eyes on the icy road. Maya was 25. She had my late wife's gentle spirit and my stubborn jaw. She worked as a pediatric nurse, pulling 12-hour shifts, and yet she still found time to see the good in people who didn't deserve her. Her husband, Julian, was one of those people. Julian was a hedge fund heir who had a habit of conveniently disappearing whenever his snobbish parents threw a subtle insult my daughter's way. He never stood up for her. He just existed, somewhere in the periphery, letting Maya take the hits. When we arrived at the Sterling estate, the valet looked at my rusted Bronco like it was an infectious disease. Inside, the mansion was a dizzying display of crystal chandeliers and forced laughter. Victoria Sterling held court by the grand staircase. She was a woman who wore her wealth like a weapon. When Maya approached her, holding out the beautifully restored music box, Victoria didn't even put down her martini. "For me?" Victoria had purred, her eyes scanning Maya's modest dress with open disdain. "How quaint." Victoria took the box with one hand. She barely glanced at it before turning to speak to a local judge. As she turned, the box slipped from her fingers. It hit the marble floor with a sickening crack, brass gears and splintered wood scattering across the foyer. The room went dead silent. "Oh dear," Victoria sighed, sounding immensely bored. "Clumsy me." Maya, bless her heart, immediately dropped to her knees to gather the antique pieces. That was when Victoria took a step forward. Her sharp stiletto heel came down directly onto the back of Maya's hand. Maya let out a sharp gasp, jerking her hand back. Blood instantly welled up, dripping onto the pristine white marble. "Do get up, Maya," Victoria snapped, annoyed. "You're making a spectacle, and bleeding on the imported stone." I looked at Julian. He was standing 10 feet away, holding a scotch. He made eye contact with me, then literally turned his back and walked toward the dining room. He didn't say a word. He didn't check on his wife. I walked over, pulled off my flannel shirt, and wrapped it around Maya's hand. I lifted her up by her good arm. "We're leaving," I said. Victoria rolled her eyes. "Oh, please, take your mechanic father and go. You never belonged here anyway." I didn't argue. I didn't throw a punch. I took my bleeding daughter to the ER, made sure she was treated properly, and then I made the phone call that would end the Sterling family's reign forever. Vance was a corporate shark. He was also the managing trustee of Apex Holdings, a private equity firm that practically owned the Midwest's shipping infrastructure. Nobody knew who the silent founder of Apex was. The public records were buried under layers of Delaware shell companies. Nobody knew that Elias Thorne, the quiet mechanic who ran a failing auto restoration shop in downtown Detroit, was a billionaire. My late wife Sarah had made me promise before she passed away from pancreatic cancer. "Don't let our girl grow up thinking money is a substitute for character," she had whispered from her hospital bed. "And when she finds someone, make sure they love her for who she is, not what she stands to inherit. Make sure you know the difference." So I hid it, all of it. I kept the old garage. I drove the old truck. I let Maya grow up middle class, grounded, and kind. But hiding my wealth meant I also had to watch Julian Sterling treat my daughter like an accessory, simply because he thought he held all the financial power in the relationship. "Vance," I had said into the phone outside the ER. "Step 1. The Sterling real estate portfolio." "They're heavily leveraged, Mr. Thorne." Vance's voice crackled, calm and deadly. "Apex holds the mezzanine debt on their 3 biggest commercial properties. If we recall the loans under the morality clause of the original covenants—" "Do it," I said. "Freeze their credit lines. I want them bleeding cash by sunrise." "Consider it done." I hung up, walked back into the ER, and put my arm around my exhausted, bandaged daughter. "Let's go to my house, sweetheart," I told her. "You're not going back to him tonight." Maya just nodded, too tired to argue. When we got back to my house, my second wife, Evelyn, was waiting in the kitchen. Evelyn was 15 years younger than me. We had been married for 3 years. She played the part of the supportive, concerned stepmother well, rushing over with a cup of tea and a gasp of horror at Maya's bandages. "Oh, you poor thing," Evelyn cooed, brushing Maya's hair back. "What a terrible accident." I watched Evelyn's performance with a stone-cold expression. I sent Maya upstairs to get some sleep in her old childhood bedroom. Once I heard the door click shut, I walked into my study, locked the door, and opened the floor safe hidden under the rug. I pulled out a thick manila folder. 3 months ago, I had noticed Evelyn taking long, unexplainable trips to the city. I noticed discrepancies in my modest personal checking account, so I hired a private investigator, a former FBI forensic accountant named Harlan. What Harlan found wasn't just an affair. It was a conspiracy. Evelyn was sleeping with Julian, my son-in-law. They had been meeting at a boutique hotel downtown for almost a year, but it got worse. The file contained medical documents. Evelyn had paid off a corrupt neurologist to draft forged medical evaluations, claiming I was showing signs of aggressive, early-onset dementia. She was preparing to file for power of attorney. She thought I was just a tired old mechanic with a paid-off house and a garage, and she and Julian were planning to institutionalize me, liquidate my meager assets, and run off together to a Cayman Islands account where Julian had been hiding money he embezzled from his own family's trust fund. They thought they were playing a master game of chess against a senile old fool. They didn't realize they were sitting on a landmine, and I held the detonator. The next morning, the sky was a bruised, heavy gray. I had a pot of black coffee waiting when Maya finally came downstairs. She looked pale, her bandaged hand cradled against her chest. "Sit down, kiddo," I said gently. "My phone has been ringing all morning," she muttered, staring at the table. "Julian left 4 voicemails. He says his family's company is in a panic, something about their loans being frozen. He sounded terrified." "He should be," I said. I slid the thick manila folder across the table toward her. "Maya, I need you to look at this. It's going to hurt, but you need the truth." Maya looked at me, her brow furrowed. She opened the folder. I watched my daughter's face as she read. I watched her process the photos of Evelyn and Julian walking into the hotel. I watched her read the bank transcripts. I watched her eyes widen as she saw the forged dementia diagnosis with my name on it. She didn't cry. The betrayal was too deep, too absolute for tears. The blood simply drained from her face, leaving behind a hardened, terrifying clarity. She inherited that from me too. "Where is Evelyn?" Maya asked, her voice dangerously quiet. "She left at 5 a.m., I said. "Told me she was going to a yoga retreat for the weekend. Harlan's tracking her car. She's headed to Montgomery Field, a private airstrip. Julian chartered a Gulfstream jet last night. Maya slowly closed the folder. They're running. Julian knows the bank is foreclosing on his family today. He knows his trust fund is about to be seized. They're trying to get to the Caymans before the indictments drop. Maya stood up. She picked up her car keys with her good hand. We're going to the airstrip. Maya, you're hurt. I don't care if my arm is falling off, Dad, she snapped, a fierce fire burning in her eyes. I am going to look my husband in the eye one last time. I didn't argue. I grabbed my coat. We drove in my Bronco, tearing down the icy highway toward the private airfield. My phone buzzed in my pocket. It was Vance. The FBI has the wire transfer evidence, Elias. The local field office is moving in on the airstrip now. Julian Sterling's embezzlement triggers federal wire fraud statutes. Make sure they don't miss the flight, I replied. We pulled through the chain-link gates of Montgomery Field just as the sleet began to turn into heavy snow. Through the whiteout, I saw them. Julian and Evelyn were standing on the tarmac next to a sleek white Gulfstream, frantically arguing with a baggage handler. Maya slammed the Bronco into park, shoved the door open, and marched out into the freezing wind. I was right behind her. Julian saw her first. He dropped a designer duffel bag onto the wet asphalt. His jaw fell open. Maya? What are you doing here? Evelyn spun around, her face instantly shifting into a mask of fake concern. Maya, honey, Elias, what are you two doing out in the cold? Maya didn't scream. She walked right up to Julian, close enough that he had to look down at the thick white bandages wrapping her right hand. Going on a ski trip, Julian? Maya asked, her voice slicing through the roar of the jet engines. Julian swallowed hard. Maya, listen, the family business, something crazy is happening. My dad's accounts are frozen. I'm just taking Evelyn to a safe location until this blows over. I was going to call you. Stop talking, Maya said. It wasn't a yell, it was a command. And it hit Julian so hard he actually snapped his mouth shut. Maya pulled the manila folder from under her coat and threw it at Julian's chest. The papers exploded across the wet tarmac. Photos of him and Evelyn, the Cayman account numbers, the forged dementia papers. Evelyn stared at the papers blowing in the wind. The color vanished from her cheeks. The sweet, concerned stepmother act melted away, leaving behind the panicked rat she truly was. Elias, Evelyn stammered, looking at me. I can explain. That's a misunderstanding. The only misunderstanding, I said, stepping past my daughter to look my wife in the eye, was you thinking I was a helpless old man. You really thought you could lock me in a home and steal my garage? I let out a dry, bitter laugh. You could have had a good life, Evelyn, but you got greedy. Julian was hyperventilating, staring at the bank documents. How did you get this? You're a mechanic. You don't have the money to hire people to find this. No, I said, my voice dead calm. But the founder of Apex Holdings does. Julian froze. Even the biting wind seemed to stop. The Sterling family owed their entire existence to Apex Holdings. The realization hit Julian like a physical blow. His knees literally buckled, sending him stumbling back against the landing gear of the jet. You? Julian whispered, his eyes wide with a terror that was deeply satisfying to witness. You're Apex? But the flannel, the truck. I wanted to see what kind of man you were when you thought there were no consequences, I said. Now you know. And now, there are consequences. Right on cue, the wail of sirens pierced the roar of the jet engine. 3 black SUVs tore onto the tarmac, their red and blue lights slicing through the snow. They boxed the Gulfstream in perfectly. Doors flew open. Men in tactical windbreakers reading FBI spilled out. Julian Sterling! Evelyn Thorne! A federal agent barked through a bullhorn. Hands where we can see them! Evelyn let out a high-pitched shriek, stepping backward, slipping on the icy tarmac, and landing hard on her knees. Julian just stood there, paralyzed, as 2 agents slammed him against the side of the private jet and clicked handcuffs onto his wrists. Maya stood perfectly still, watching the man she had loved for years get read his rights. She didn't look sad. She looked like she had just woken up from a very long, very bad dream. As they dragged Julian past us, he locked eyes with Maya. Maya, please, help me. Call my father, please. Maya looked at him, glancing down at her bandaged, throbbing hand. Do get up, Julian, she said softly, echoing his mother's exact words. "You're making a spectacle." We turned around and walked back to the Bronco. The drive back was quiet. The heater rattled, blowing warm air over us as the adrenaline slowly left our systems. "Apex Holdings?" Maya asked finally, staring out the window at the passing snowdrifts. "Your mother made me promise," I said, gripping the steering wheel. "She knew that money changes how people look at you. She wanted you to have a normal life, a real life. I might have taken it too far, keeping it a secret for so long. And for that, Maya, I am so deeply sorry.
If I had told you, maybe you wouldn't have married him."
Maya looked at me. The betrayal of the day was heavy on her, but her eyes were clear. "No," she said. "If you had told me, Julian would have just acted like a perfect gentleman forever. I would have spent my life married to a lie, funding his fake life, never knowing what he was capable of. You did the right thing, Dad. You protected me." I reached over and gently patted her shoulder. I had spent 12 years hiding my shadow. It was time to step into the light. It took 3 months for the dust to settle. The Sterling family was obliterated. Judge Sterling was indicted for accepting bribes and leveraging his rulings for real estate kickbacks, all uncovered during the FBI's forensic audit. Victoria lost the manor to foreclosure. She now lived in a 2-bedroom apartment, completely ostracized by the high society she had worshipped. Julian and Evelyn were both facing 5 to 10 years for wire fraud and conspiracy. The divorce paperwork went through smoothly, mostly because neither of them had the funds to fight it. As for us, we didn't buy a mansion. We didn't buy yachts. Instead, I bought an enormous, abandoned brick warehouse on the edge of the city. We gutted it, reinforced the steel beams, and installed the best hydraulic lifts money could buy. It was a Tuesday afternoon when we officially opened the doors. The smell of fresh paint mixed with the familiar scent of motor oil. Maya was standing by a vintage 1967 Mustang we were restoring together. Her hand had healed perfectly, leaving only a faint silver scar across her knuckles, a reminder of a past she had survived. She wiped her grease-stained hands on a rag, looked around the massive, sunlit garage, and smiled. A real, genuine smile. "Pass me the 3/4 wrench, Dad?" she asked. I picked up the heavy steel tool and tossed it to her. I wasn't just a mechanic anymore, and I wasn't hiding. I was exactly who I was supposed to be. A father, building something real with his daughter. And there isn't a price tag in the world you can put on that.